Hello everyone, welcome to the Jargus Ranger Review. This time we'll be looking at the 13th episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel, Ace in the Race. Now this one is a much more simpler story than the last episode, but still a lot of details crammed into it. But it's all centered around one single scenario. First of all, is at the Lake Sunshine Finathlon, which is a bunch of sports events at this park. And we're going to get some sort of trophy. So you know Victor Vincent is going to be in on this. Except it's supposed to be in teams, but he plans to do it all by himself. You can only imagine how that's going to turn out. So the Rangers are on 3 teams. And this time you can actually get to see just how muscular these actors are. Even Preston, which I was surprised at. He has very large biceps, which given his personality and the things he pursues on his own, you wouldn't expect out of him. Though that's more about the actors more than the characters. It's just a little thing I noticed. Anyway, that aside, Calvin gets distracted from his team. Calvin gets distracted from his team of Haley and Sarah, because Ace shows up with his car, and he kind of looks up to him because apparently he made it all himself. So then he gets offered to take a look inside of it, and he notices that he has an oil leak. It's like, okay, we can just push it to the shop class at the school. It is only like a block away. And by push it, they mean he and his friends just get inside it and they make Calvin push it all the way in. So what happens with him is, they're laughing at him, looking down on him. Yeah, he's not so friendly. But, Calvin doesn't seem to notice, or mind. That's until our receipt drops and picks it up and looks like he just took it to a mechanic to fix up the whole thing. He was a liar the whole time. And then he was a really jerk in his face saying, it was a mistake to have paid to have it done when could have someone like Calvin do it for free. And so Calvin tells him off. He ain't an ace, he's a joker. He's mad at himself for looking up to someone like that too. And so when they drive off, they of course don't heed his warnings that it's not ready to go. And so the car wrecks itself. It's their own fault really. And so he's talking to Mick and he says, yeah, I don't need someone like that as my friend. I'm better off without him. So good for you. You're mature enough not to keep clinging on to that. You saw pretty quickly just how bad he was. But Mick holds out the baton for the relay race. And then Calvin's like, oh crap, I screwed up. He runs off to join them. So that was his little character arc right there. Now, either I haven't really heard Calvin's voice in a long time, but to me he sounded like he was sick. Or something. Or could we hardly ever hear his voice by himself, but it didn't sound like he was nervous like we sort of hear from Preston. Anyway, that's just the way it sounded to me. If you think it's something different, then say it in the comments below. Now, amidst all that, he has already been replaced on the relay race by someone called Bob Shoespike, which is an awkward name. So he has his own baton, and he has Brody and Levi grab it. I almost forgot the names for a second. And it makes their eyes glow. And so they don't have a friendly high five with the other team of Rangers. They're just ready to go and get this battle started. Well, the race started. And so when it goes, Bob stays back for a second, because there's as much fun when he gives him a head start. And he runs ahead of everybody, including Victor Vincent. And then when Brody and Levi make it to their relays, they push like Calvin and Sarah and other people they find off to the side. One of them gets thrown into the water. No, not Calvin gets thrown off Preston. He gets pushed into the bushes. And they're laughing about it, saying they're just losers. So yeah, that's not very good of them at all. Then everyone that lost a race turns into a trophy. But these trophies can still talk. And then a minute later, Victor finally comes in last place, with Monty trying to make it look like he was so triumphant just to spare his ego. But yes, he too becomes a trophy. And a dog picks him up, and eventually he ends up inside a fish tank of the town mascot, or the lake mascot. And of course, his head is sitting on top of a mermaid statue, and his stupid ass just starts talking to and hitting harder, as if she could even listen to him. Oh, Victor, you brought this one on yourself, I'm afraid. But then when they turn around, Bob has turned into a monster called Shoe Spike, because he is a giant shoe. That's gotta be one of the lamest monsters I've heard in a long time. If it weren't for the fact that his voice sounds so much of an imitation of Arnold Schwarzenegger, it gave him so much personality I can't help but love him. At least in his monster form. His regular human disguise, not impressive to me. So he says that they have to beat him in a race in order to change the Rangers back, but they have to bet their power stars on it. And his partner is going to be a Kudabot instead of, well, a different monster, obviously. So they start some preparations and training in the middle of the forest, and that's when Calvin happens upon the scene. He's finally back in the picture, and he sees the other Rangers in trophy form while they're getting ready. And remember, they're still under a spell, so they're ultra competitive and mean-spirited. And they basically tell him, yeah, they're under the spell and they have to win the race. So of course Calvin jumps in and joins the race, coming onto Ranger form. So it's going to be a 3-man, 3-legged race. So I guess it's a 4-legged race? But of course the two brothers are so competitive that they just keep tripping over each other and they keep falling, while Shoe Spike runs ahead. Until Calvin finally just tells them to stop it, they need to work as a team, use teamwork, and that he'll take the lead, going one step at a time. So they do that, and they quickly catch up, and they notice that Shoe Spike is cheating, because the Kudabots have become dummies attached to his side. Yet somehow they're catching up with him, which means it is really slow actually, or he's not trying, compared to how hard it must be for those 3 to run. He even sets off explosion booby traps, but it still don't slow him down, and he loses. So all the Rangers are free, and this time they morph. More Kudabots come, and 4 of the Rangers fight them, but the real fight is Brody and Levi, the 2 actual brothers, not just calling each other bro, are fighting. So I'm glad they acknowledged that. They acknowledged at that point that they are actual brothers, and not just something they forgot about, which I felt like they were going to do that up till now. So ultimately, they just use their final attacks to destroy him, until it's gigantified. And this time we get a bit of a fun Zord battle, because it begins as a Turbo Red Zord and Bull Rider Zord fighting it on their own. Then eventually, Calvin's Zord throws a bunch of spikes at it. And then we have the Ninja Fusion Zord, which they should have called it a Megazord, not just a Zord. And it destroys it instantly with the Master Slash. And so, in the aftermath, Calvin's apologizing because he got carried away and ignored them. And it's like, yeah, it's okay, we made mistakes. Because he neglected them because out of a sudden excitement, because of his idol. Not the way he was betrayed because he was just a jerk looking down on someone using them. A little bit of difference there. A big difference. And then after much delay, Victor finally restores inside the fish tank. No, it doesn't shatter, but he does come standing on top of it, his head covered in seaweed. And when he tries to get out, we hear a cracking sound. The mermaid statue is destroyed. And he still would not stop telling his life story to. So yeah, that's how this episode ends. Overall, it was okay. I mean, it was fun to watch. And something I complained about this season where my mind checks out during the fight scenes didn't happen. I still kept my full interest in it the whole way through. So that's a big plus, especially in Megazord Battle. It had more action and battliness to it than usual. If those are even actual words. Though we didn't see anything with like Madame Odious or anything or their ongoing plot. So this was a filler episode, but it was a decent filler. So I won't complain about it. But if you skip it, you're not going to miss anything special. Anyway, I'm Jargus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next review. Until then, let the power protect you.